Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and we're doing another not quite summer, not quite fall mani. It's going to be very Moody Mermaid vibes. So this is the recently released Splashing Stars collection, I believe it's called, from Glam Co. I recently bought it and I haven't used it yet, and I am obsessed with all of the colors in this collection. They are all just so beautiful. I had the hardest time deciding which colors I wanted to use, but that just means I'm going to have to do another mani using more of the colors because I just want to use them all. They're just all so good. And as I'm sitting here doing this voiceover, I cannot stop staring at this mani. I am so obsessed with it. The depth of the glitters, it's just so beautiful. It's quite possibly my favorite mani that I have done in quite a while. So stick around, wait till you see these beautiful colors. If you know me, you won't be surprised that these are the three colors that I chose for today's mani, but you know what? I'm not even sorry. I have no regrets. I would choose these colors all day, every day, because I am obsessed. But from the three colors, there is one solid color, so that's Eventide. So that's going to be what I'm starting with. And I will also be using my Vivid Glam Co. dip liquids. So starting with my dip base, I removed most of the dip base from my brush just so I had a little bit on my brush because I don't want to flood my cuticles. And so I'm just applying a thin, even layer of dip base to my entire nail. And then once I've got the dip base on, I'm going to go ahead and dip into the jar. And I should also mention, I get the extra small size jars, so they're really the sample size jars that Vivid Glam Co. has. So I think she has three sizes. She has extra small, small, and then I don't know if the other one's called a large or a medium, but anyway, she's got three sizes now. I usually get the extra small because it is more than enough for what I do for dipping, especially because I have so many colors. And because I'm wearing my short almond tips, these are the BTArt box ones. I have them linked below down in the description if you're interested in these. But since they're shorter, I don't really have that much of an issue dipping into the extra small jars. However, if I wear longer tips, I definitely wouldn't be able to dip in the jar. So just something to keep in mind if you get the extra small jars of your nail length will make a difference on whether or not you can dip into it. So I went ahead and did my index finger and pinky, and you can sort of see that thermal change. You can see that it's a darker bluish purple at my tip because that's where it's colder. But this one is so fun. And usually when I'm dipping, even if it doesn't look wet, just to make sure it's extra dry so I can, because I'm impatient and I want to go ahead and dust off the excess powder, I'll go ahead and dip again just in case there's any excess dip base. It'll absorb and then I can dust off the excess powder. So I'm just using, I have a separate duster brush for my darker color, so I'm using that. I want to make sure that my skin is clean, so I did see like a little bit of product at my cuticle area. I think that's leftover actually peel base, so I just want to make sure to remove that, make sure everything's clean as I'm going. So now I'm going to go ahead and get into layer 2. I'm just kind of tapping the jar against the table to re-level it to make it easier to dip in. I like to make sure my dip is level because if it's kind of uneven and a little messy in the jar, sometimes it can create uneven layers, so that's why I kind of do that. I don't know if it actually helps or not, but in my mind it does. The consistency of thermal dip powders really varies, I guess, depending on the thermal powders or pigments or whatever it is that companies use. And so I'll say for this one, it's not vastly different than any other regular dip powder without any thermal powders in it. It is a little bit thicker, so my layers are a little bit thicker, but as far as using the powder, it's very easy to use. It's not super heavy and thick. I think you know what I'm talking about if you've used other thermal powders. Like sometimes they're like kind of a wet sand consistency, sometimes they're very thick, but this one is lighter and fluffier, so it is easier to use. For my second layer, I want to focus on making sure I have even coverage on my entire nail, that if I missed any spots on my first layer, I want to make sure that I'm getting them with my second layer. And my pinky is always my trouble finger. So there's always that area on the other side of my nail where I always miss it because I can't see it well. So that's kind of why I'm holding my hand that way, so I can kind of get a better application on the entire pinky. So I'm just going a little bit slower making sure I've got everything covered. And then once I think I have the entire nail covered, I'll go ahead and dip into the powder. So the one thing is, when I was kind of cleaning up, and I think it was when I re-dipped because the dip base was looking a little wet, I accidentally hit the side of the jar while the dip base was still wet, so it left a little bit of a line, which I was so annoyed by. And I didn't think the clear would fix it because normally I just do 2 layers of color and then I cap and clear. So I decided, in order to fix it, I really needed a 3rd layer of that powder, which I didn't want to do because these powders are a little bit thicker. I mean, in the end, my nails weren't too thick, but preferably I would have just done the 2 layers and then the capping and clear. But because see that line right there, I decided I'm just going to do a 3rd dip of the color, and then I will skip capping and clear and hope that filing and buffing on top of this wouldn't impact the color, wouldn't make it splotchy or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and go in with layer 3. After I finish with my 3rd layer, I'm going to skip the cap and clear, and I'm going to activate directly on that dip powder. So you can see it turning into that darker bluish purple color once I activate, because it's colder. And the reason I'm activating is because this is the only solid color that I'm using. The rest are glitters, and glitters will not stick to an activated nail, so that keeps my solids solid. So moving on to my glitters, I've got Midnight Mischief, which is what I'm going to start with. This is the finer glitter, and I also have a chunky glitter that I'll also use. But Midnight Mischief is going to go on my ring finger and thumb, and oh my gosh, this is so, so gorgeous. Just look at it in the jar. I just decided to give it a stir just to make sure it was fluffed up, but it is so, so beautiful. I could do a whole mani of just this color. But I'm starting with my thumb, starting with my dip base. So I'm applying a thin, even layer of dip base to my entire nail. So I start with my brush about the halfway point of my nail. I brush downwards towards my free edge, and then I work my way upwards towards my cuticle area. I want to make my lines as clean as possible, make sure I don't get any of that dip base on my skin, because any product really on your skin could cause allergies. So if I do get a little dip base on my skin, I want to make sure to clean that up. And then I'm going to go ahead and dip into the jar. And so, where I had said before, these extra small jars weren't really an issue, my thumb is a little bit bigger. So I did make a little bit of a mess dipping into the jar with my thumb, but not too big of a mess. I didn't lose too much of that glitter, but you will see there is a little bit of a mess, which is why I laid down that paper towel. I actually just looked up Midnight Mischief on the website because, looking at it, I wasn't quite sure whether Logan would call this a pink or a purple, because I feel like depending on what light's hitting it, it kind of looks like both colors. So on the website, she calls it a lilac pink, so that makes sense because I definitely see both colors in there. I mean, to me, which is probably why I love it so much, to me, I kind of see like a purple, more of a purple with like a pink undertone. Either way, it is so gorgeous. Just look at that sparkle. I top coat it, it sparkles just as much, but I really feel like this would be a really great glitter to leave sugared. And when I mean sugared, it just means that you don't top coat it, you leave it kind of like in that raw glitter form. It's textured, so if texture bothered you, you probably wouldn't like something like that, but it is so beautiful when you get the right glitter and you leave it sugared. It's just amazing. This actually was full coverage in just one dip, but I did decide to go ahead and go in with a second layer, especially because I have 3 layers on my solid nails, just to keep them a little more even. So I'm going ahead and applying my dip base to my entire nail. You saw because it's so glittery, I did wipe my brush on that paper towel in a spot that didn't have any glitter, just to remove any of the excess glitter, because as much as I can, I don't want to contaminate my bottle of dip base with excess glitter. I mean, it's going to happen anyway, but if I can minimize it, that's why I kind of wiped the brush. I'm going to wait to cap the rest of my nails together at the end, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to my last glitter, which is going to go on my middle finger. So this is Moonlight Mermaid, and it is just so dimensional. Just wait till you see it. This is probably my favorite out of the entire collection, but it is a bit of a chunkier glitter. It's not super chunky, but it does have larger hex glitter pieces in it. So for my first layer, I'm going to actually pour over. So I grabbed my Chaos Gemerald in order to catch the glitters. So I start pouring over into the Gemerald first, and then once the glitter starts pouring, I'll go over my nail. And that just ensures I catch less of the chunkier glitter pieces because I don't want a lot of them in my first layer. So my first layer is a little bit sparse, but that's okay because that creates less bulkiness. So I just tapped off the excess powder. I'm just kind of pressing down, making sure everything's laying flat, which this glitter laid super flat, so I'm super happy with that. For my second layer, I do want to lay my finger flat in. That's the layer that I want to pick up more of those chunkier glitter pieces. So I went ahead and dumped the rest of my jar into my Chaos Gemerald, and I just shook it just to bring more of those chunkier glitter pieces to the surface. Because the larger glitter pieces are heavier, they tend to sink, but I want to make sure that I'm bringing them to the surface so I can catch more of them in my second layer. And then if I need to, I'll just take my orange wood stick, make sure that it's evenly dispersed, and then I'll go ahead and go in with my second layer. So applying a thin, even layer of dip base to my entire nail. And then once I'm finished applying my dip base, the same thing of I don't want too much glitter like trapped in my brush. So I'm going to wipe it on my paper towel before I return it to the bottle. And I did end up changing my paper towel because I made a giant mess with Midnight Mischief. So I've got that dip base on. I'm laying my finger flat into that glitter. And so here you can see that really great coverage. So I picked up a lot of the good chunky pieces. I picked up more of the finer glitters, and I'm really happy with that coverage. And you know, I did pat down a little bit, but these glitters laid so flat. They were so easy to work with. I know a lot of people don't like chunky glitters because they can be difficult to work with, but I have to say, these were really great to work with. I had to do barely any work. I didn't do any glitter placement. It's just really easy. Once I'm done with my glitters, I'm going to go ahead and cap them in clear. So I've got my Vivid Glam Co. crystal glass. I have 2 huge jugs of this. One of this is for solids and the other is for glitters. This is my glitter one. And in my opinion, capping in clear for your glitters is not optional unless you plan to do no filing and buffing. If you plan to do filing and buffing, if you don't cap it in clear, you're going to file through the colors of the glitter and they're going to look silver. You're going to lose those pretty colors of the glitters. So you really want to protect them so they kind of stay in their natural, beautiful state. I went ahead and filed and buffed off camera, so here's how the mani's looking, and I am obsessed already, but now it's going to get even better. This is my favorite part. We're going to get into dip top coat. So in order for dip top coat to dry, it does need activator, so I'm applying one final thin layer of activator to all my nails. I'm going to wait a full 2 minutes for the activator to dry, and then I'll get into dip top coat. I wait about a minute, minute and a half, and then I take some isopropyl alcohol and a lint-free wipe, and I just give my nails a really quick swipe to remove any of that excess activator. I give it a few seconds to dry, and then I'm ready to get into my top coat. So for my first layer of top coat, I apply it in 2 to 3 swipes on each nail. I want to be fairly quick about it just so I don't harden my brush. In between each nail, I make sure that I wipe my brush on a lint-free wipe to remove any excess activator before returning it to the bottle. And by the time I'm done with my 5th nail, I'm ready to go in with layer 2. So for layer 2, that's when I take my time and make sure that I've got my entire nail covered, and I also want to make sure that I'm capping my free edge. As always, I'm going to finish off my mani by rehydrating my cuticles with my Skills of Mermaid cuticle oil. This is the August limited edition scent Bocian. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. I probably just butchered it. But this one is so, so special. So this one was made in honor of Pat's grandmother who recently passed away. Apparently Bocian means storks. So apparently when they visited her back in Poland, she always had storks in the yard. So it's just so special. And this scent, it's a light rose scent, very soft, very romantic. Pat made it knowing that there are a lot of people who don't like florals. So she made it very light and elegant. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful scent. If you don't think you like florals, this is, I think, going to change your mind because it is just so great. So that pretty much wraps up today's video, and if you're still with me, thank you for hanging in there. I feel like I talked a little bit more than usual, but I had so much fun doing this mani. I am so obsessed. Just check out the depth of these glitters. Definitely Moody Mermaid vibes. I could wear this mani forever. So I hope this video is helpful. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.